Guys, LA is burning and it's time to talk about sustainability. This is a topic that's really close to my heart, not least because I taught the subject for a couple of years in New York. So today, we're just going to start the conversation around this beast of a topic that is sustainability. Sustainability is a challenge not just for the fashion industry, but for all industries insofar as we're mass producing the goods that we use today. I just want to get across two main points in this episode. One is that we need to think about as many different dimensions of sustainability as possible, and I'll elaborate later. Two is that there is no magic pill. I often read about this myth of a solution. Where something is made is the problem or the solution. Meaning, if my clothes are made in poor countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, then there are worse environmental conditions and worse labor conditions like sweatshops. So if we move clothing production to the US or Canada, Europe, problem solved. Problem not solved, which I'll explain later. Another myth of a solution, recycling. I can buy as much as I want and then I'll recycle. I'll donate to Goodwill. I'll sell in the secondhand market. Oftentimes, recycling is worse than not recycling, and I'll also explain why. First, just to give you a sense of how important LA is to the US fashion and apparel industry, downtown LA's garment district produces more than 80% of all US made apparel. We have in downtown LA 45,000 garment workers, mostly Central American and Mexican women, and many Asian women. We also have in downtown LA around 1,400 manufacturers and contractors. We have that many because most of these are small immigrant-owned businesses. More and more people today are familiar with the fact that fashion and apparel is one of the most polluting industries today, oftentimes ranked second after oil. Why? Well, that's in large part because of how much oil the fashion industry uses in all of the stages of the production of an item of clothing. To give you a sense of these different stages, here's the 5 main ones. 1, the raw materials, right? Plastics, cotton, leather, cashmere. All of these take a ton of energy to grow, to harvest, and then to transport to the second stage, processing and manufacturing. Processing clothes use oil-based chemicals in large part, and there are all the transportation costs involved to get all these different components together to make an item of clothing. Let me just also give you a sense of the components of just something like this jacket. You've got the exterior, you've got the lining, you've got the zipper, you've got the thread, you've got maybe buttons, like super basic, right? We're not talking about like sequins involved or different color threads, etc. All of these materials need to come from all different suppliers, all arriving in this manufacturing center. And then we've got the third stage, the distribution of the made garment. Tons of energy involved. Got to transport from these manufacturing centers to the retail hubs that then distribute to stores. And then you have to, of course, you've got the energy used to run these stores. Fourth stage, the use of clothing, which is like washing, drying, dry cleaners, repair, right? All of this also, your washing machine, your drying, your dryer, all uses a ton of energy. And then finally, stage 5, disposal. You have the transport involved to the Goodwills, to usually then the landfills, which burn the clothing, or transport them in bulks by the ton to poorer countries and devastate their local garment industries. So when we're talking about sustainability, we've got to think about all of these different dimensions. And I've just been talking about the pollution part of it, right? There's also the human labor part of it. Human beings are involved in all these stages. The people working the cotton fields, who are in the leather tanneries, who are processing these materials, who are driving the trucks and flying the planes, who are selling these clothes, including the models who are the people working to promote these clothes. The labor what about those labor conditions, right? Are those sustainable? Are they paying a living wage? Most times not. And that's actually irrespective of where these factories are located, like I was saying earlier, right? So a solution that people often think is, well, let's buy made in US or made in Europe. It's going to be better conditions. We have sweatshops in LA. We have sweatshops in New York, right? It's not just because we're in a wealthier country does not necessarily indicate that we're going to be either polluting less or treating people better, unfortunately. Another one is buying recycled materials. Nike, quite a few companies, Patagonia, boast that these are made out of recycled plastics. Well, recycled plastics have this really persnickety problem of offshedding microplastics into the water supply, into the ocean, and then into our bodies. We haven't addressed that yet, this shedding of microplastics. So I'm not sure that using recycled materials is a net positive for clothing production at all, if not a net negative. So all of these developments are, they're encouraging in the sense that people are thinking about it, manufacturers are thinking about it, retail companies are thinking about it, but there is no magic. There isn't like a solution that actually completely addresses all the extremely complex areas of sustainability. So the bottom line is that anything that's produced at scale, meaning mass production, has severe endemic sustainability challenges, right? Like we moved from these cottage industries back in the medieval times where people were making stuff locally, right, to over the hundreds of years, global, vast, integrated mass production. And any company that's telling you it's sustainable, that is a company that is producing on a mass level, including Patagonia, is not going to be sustainable. It can't be because of all the steps involved that I just listed. I will definitely do an episode on some steps that we can take on a daily basis. Definitely thinking about the wildfires, and I'll see you guys next time.